Hello and welcome to Tune In, the official podcast of the British Association of Barbershop Singers. I'm Peter Bryant, Bab's Director of Marketing, and this month's guest co-host is Calvin Laverick.
Hello
Hi,
there.
Calvin. Who are you?
I'm Calvin Laverick, Director of Membership and Engagement. And I'm very happy to be here and have a bit of a chit chat.
Yeah, it's very exciting. This is episode 1 of the Bab's official podcast.
One of many, I'd assume. Or
hopefully this goes well, and they'll let us make another one.
I should have had a different guest on then, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
but,
to be fair,
you're stuck with me now. It's a bit late.
Didn't really think this one through, but we're stuck with Calvin, so we'll make the best of it. So we've got a few things that we would like to run through. I think the kind of headline thing, Calvin, is your big membership consultation that you've been running recently, which I'll let you explain in a sec. There's a few bits about board recruitment, and we've got Directors Academy coming up this weekend as well, which is exciting, and a few Year of Harmony updates and things like that. So shall we start, Calvin, with the consultation?
We can indeed. So obviously, as many people will know, we have started a new system of consultation for membership. It's the first time it's ever been run. I will say at this point, if you're listening because you think I'm going to give you all the results, I'm afraid that's not happening. That's at the AGM. I'm just kind of here to talk about the process itself. We had some good engagement across the board from both choruses and individuals. We also, have had some feedback via email, and there's a number of different routes. The kind of key area around the consultation was for not only to gather feedback on things that could be improved, but also to gather feedback on things that are going, really well. And we've just recently had such a successful convention, and the feedback around that was, exceptional. And it's about incorporating what we get from this consultation into the conventions coming up. As many of you will know, we have closed this one. There will be a number of other consultations about various other things over the next few months. And I would just ask that everybody kind of has a think about what they might want to engage with in that process, and also just to really think about what they love about Babs and how we can make sure we incorporate that into everything that we do sort of moving forward. And obviously, as I say, this one is done for now, but if you could just keep discussing, all form of conversation at a chorus level is of benefit, or at an individual level, because the more we talk, the stronger we get as an organisation, and the more we can grow and bring Barbershop to people in Britain. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk, which has now lasted at least 2 minutes. But that's the general gist. And, a thank you to everyone that's taken the time, especially to choruses who have taken time out of their rehearsals. I know how very valuable that is, especially if you've been working on the same 6 bars for about 4 months. So, thank you to everyone that's been there. At the March AGM, we will kind of present the results along with a couple of recommendations that come from the results. And then we will sort of move forward from there. So hopefully that's a fairly comprehensive, if not a little wordy, explanation of the consultation.
No, that's good. So this first one was focused on convention, wasn't it?
Right. It was, and very much the practical where, when, how, what.
Like what do you want convention to look like, big picture?
Yeah, absolutely. And, certainly for me, convention is a very special part of the year. For many people, it's the holiday. They go away, and I've certainly been. It's probably the only time I've been to Wales, if I'm being honest. But it's not a personal issue with Wales, make that clear. But yeah, so like it's really great. And what we want to understand is the model we have now currently working? So obviously we all love coming along and having the social aspect. And if it is working, what can we do better? If it's not working, why? And perhaps more importantly than why, what can we do to improve that kind of moving forward? And I think there were lots and lots of comments around timing, location, just anything you can think of. And it's not all the same feedback, as you might imagine. So it's quite a challenge to find a middle ground between it. But we are going to get there. And hopefully we can help as many people as possible enjoy the convention as much as they can sort of in the future years. And if any radical ideas come out of it, then who knows, there might be something, some sort of wild educational event that's suggested. We don't know as of yet. I'm still working through it, but we will present that over at March.
Yeah, I think I've been doing Barbershop. I did my first convention in 2006, and pretty much every convention that we've had since then, there've been lots of sort of little changes and new things introduced and that sort of thing. I think the biggest change over the last however long that is. How long ago was 2006? 20 years ago?
Old.
19 years ago?
Yeah.
A very long time ago. I think the biggest change over that time has been the introduction of a mixed chorus contest. But other than that, I think the format has remained largely the same. It's a 3-day event over a bank holiday weekend at the end of May in usually one of 3 convention centres. There's 2 rounds of a quartet contest. There's chorus contests. There's shows. There's usually international guests. It's been a very, very similar package for a very long time. And I think as a team, we were kind of like, are we sure this is still like the right thing for people to, because the other thing is we recognise that it's getting more expensive to run and it's getting more expensive to attend as well. And it's not just the cost of the convention ticket itself, although that, we know that that's risen because we have to cover our costs. But, accommodation, travel, all these things, all the things around attending a convention, we see that's getting more expensive as well. So want to make sure we're giving value to money for people, value for money to people.
It's quite a challenge, isn't it? Because in essence, we can control an awful lot. So as part of our budget, we obviously looked at softening ticket price increases, and we've moved savings into other areas into doing that. Unfortunately, when it comes to hotels and transport, as much as I personally would like to own my own hotel chain and transport so I don't have to get continually left in a station in the middle of nowhere, it's not something we necessarily have that much impact on. What we can look at is the timings of when we do it. So, things like bank holidays and wider holiday seasons, and we can try and facilitate a cheaper environment. Unfortunately, in terms of what we can control directly as an organisation, for me personally, there are 2 areas. One is the cost, and we continually try to control that. And the second one is what we offer, because it's not just a question of cost, it's a question of value. If we are forced to put the prices up because of the running costs, then what we offer should also increase relative to that. And part of this consultation is about understanding that, because it allows us to look at what we do well and then go, where are people not getting value? And at risk of using a very cliche corporate term, find the value added work that we can do and to make the convention better, but at minimal additional cost for us. And I think if I was to use one kind of example from the consultation, there was a couple of people that spoke about structured afterglows. And I think that's really interesting because, in some years there are kind of structured afterglows. Some years there are slightly less structured. There will always be occasional events, as we know, like the open mic nights and the auditoriums. But it's about understanding, do people like that and they want more of it? Or do people want something similar but not exactly that? And we can work with that. And the feedback around the open mic night from convention as well, we all know it was perhaps a little louder than we'd have hoped in there. And obviously that would be taken into account. But there was also some really great feedback about how it was really nice to have that opportunity for groups to sing and to, if they have non-contest material, etc. So yeah, there's so much that we can improve, or at least, grow a little bit, that doesn't require us to, change the entire world. And I think that's something that, the board really wants to kind of get across, is that we're not looking to, dig up the foundations of everything we've done previously. Nobody's looking for that. It's about looking at what we already do well and how we can do it better.
Yeah, definitely. One of the big themes that we asked about and people gave us answers about as well was about the balance around how much of the weekend is focused around contests and how much of it is focused on other things. And we've seen a lot of interesting ideas about what we might be able to introduce in terms of education and mass sings and things, which maybe used to happen more than they do. We used to have quite a lot of mass sings in the auditorium and that sort of stuff. But again, there's lots of ideas that we can introduce on that vein that makes it a bit more attractive, even if you're not really focused on the competition. Like, we know that a lot of barbershoppers are very competitive, but that's not true of everyone, and we want to broaden the appeal of convention to people who not just to people who are competing, right? We want people to want to come to convention every single year, whether their chorus has decided to compete or not. And so, you know,
and it's about giving people that reason to do so, isn't it? About, because again, you know, I think you and I can acknowledge quite clearly, Peter, like we have always been competition focused in the quartet, you know, and all these sorts of things. Like it's always been. I mean, you've got a gold medal, so don't rub it in. But like it, you know, we've always been contest focused, but that is not everything. There is, you know, a lot of life about it, and I think as we look to grow and change how we do things, I think it's really important that people don't forget, no matter what we do, we are still a heritage arts, you know, organisation at its core. I don't know if that's our official definition. It's what I'm going with. But we look at something that is from, you know, it needs, I don't want to call it protected, but we want to grow it. You know, we want to make sure it's not lost to time. And Babs needs to do that by innovating, but also keeping it at the core. And that's where we look at things like, you know, the big sings. People love that. I don't know many other organisations where, you know, you just go and have a big sing, especially because most people don't know the same songs. I mean, I was at Glastonbury last year, and I went for a walk because I was very hungover and it hurt. And I went up for a walk to what they call the healing fields. And there I saw a big sing advertised on a poster. And I went up and I thought, you know what? I like big sings. I'm going over there. So I went and did this big sing while everyone else is out there drinking and doing all this stuff. And I absolutely loved it. It was one of the highlights of my weekend. And I think, you know, we need to kind of innovate, but also remember that barbershoppers just love what we do. And we never want to change the core of what we do. We just want to find new ways to do it better. And that's what all of our consultations will be about moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I love what you said there about, you know, fundamentally one of our roles as Babs and as barbershop ensembles, choruses and quartets, so one of our fundamental roles, I think, is about preservation. Like we are very focused on quite a niche style of music, but we do that because we believe there's something really special about it, and it's not just the great harmony and the great chords and the great arrangements and the great songs and all that. It's about the culture. And I think a lot of what happens at convention and other similar events is like a big part of the thing that we're trying to preserve. And you know, as you say, a big component of preservation is innovation and, you know, refreshing and, you know, revising for a younger audience, a newer audience, a different audience, whatever. But you know, we're not just preserving a style of music, we're preserving a culture that's been very important to a lot of people for a very long time. So...
Yeah, exactly. And you know, just not to labour the point, I will shush, I promise. Also, if anyone can't see, because it's a podcast, I am nodding at Peter. It's just occurred to me that's no use. But... you know, like there is this thing, and I think for me, and this is very much my own worldview, and this is kind of how I've always seen it, and I'm sure even many people on the board might disagree, and that's that I think the speed at which society moves, whether it's in the music circles or whether it's in politics or anything like that, it's like standing on a treadmill constantly. You know, if you're not taking steps forward, you're probably slowly moving backwards. And that is, you know, it's always been something that I've kept internal to me, and I hope that's something we can integrate into Babs. Bringing the core forward with us each step of the way, but making sure that we don't get pushed back just by the world moving past us. And you know, I certainly a lot of words I've used there, but hopefully it's fairly clear what they mean.
You apologise a lot for speaking. But
I love words.
Yes.
But you know, people are forced to listen to me when I go on the stage at convention and give out awards. They can't leave. That's the one time that I have a captive audience.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, thank you. Consultation has been brilliant. Thank you so much for everyone that's kind of come about. And there'll be more updates to come.
Yeah. Are you allowed to tell us what sort of things are going to be asked in future consultations?
In the next ones. So we're still finalising questions. Obviously, I think it's okay if we just kind of say that it's a lot of the focus will be about our discussions with labs moving forward and how we can work together as two organisations, because, you know, it will be a challenge. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks it's the world's easiest thing to just work together. But I think making sure we understand where our membership would like us to go will be at the focus of the next one, and kind of go in there. I'm not saying what it's about because we haven't confirmed it yet. I'm still writing it. And there will, more details will come out as soon as we know. But I think for right now, we will focus on the practical convention looking forward, and then we'll start to look at kind of the content within that skeleton structure of what a convention is.
Nice. Very good. And I know that we've had a lot of feedback on that sort of stuff anyway.
Certainly.
Because, as we say all the time, these consultations are kind of a formalization of a feedback mechanism.
Yes.
But like that shouldn't, we don't want that to send the message that you can't get in touch with us at any other time.
Yeah, certainly. There's a very good point. Like it's it's not that if you have a great idea for a convention, please don't just write it down on a piece of paper and pop it in your fireplace. Like that won't get it to us. send us it in an email, or we're always looking for more advice. We're a team of volunteers, and we can think about as many things as we possibly can, but the more people, the better. My degree has something called diversity trumps ability theorem, which I absolutely love, and that's just the idea that you put 100 engineers in a room, they'll come up with something that's fine. You put 100 completely different people with different expertise in a room, they'll probably come up with something that's excellent. And I think that's, diversity gives more kind of skills. So more people that can be engaged, the better. If you've got a passion, we've got a place for you.
Love that. Yeah, very good. If you do want to get in touch, kind of outside formal consultation things, you can go to singbarbershop.com, or you can email ask@singbarbershop.com, and that'll get through, triaged appropriately to the right person.
Someone will be able to help.
Fundamentally, we're a membership organization, right? And we rely on members. I was about to say our primary source of income. Our only source of income is people being members. We have convention, and we charge money for convention, but it's the convention budget is designed to be break even every single year. So it's cost neutral. Like the convention income does not factor into our actual organization budget at all. All the money that we have to spend on things that aren't convention all comes from membership subs. And so we are highly incentivized to make sure that members are, happy and feel like they're getting value for money. And if you feel like there's a way that we could be doing that better, we want to hear it. So
and to say nobody, I'm sure we'll move on, but nobody on the board underestimates that the money we charge. I was say 60 quid a year, but people have different memberships. But the money that we charge is money that you've earned, and it's about making sure that we spend that, and we take that very seriously as an organisation, making sure that the money that you give to us as members to improve and grow Barbershop is being redirected to where it needs to be. And hopefully members can see that, the increase in grants that we've given out over the last few years and last year, and things like that are really starting to show a redistribution of some savings that we've made in other areas. I could go on about it all day. We won't. But it's Pete and I are very, very passionate about making sure money, what the whole board is, but about making sure that money goes to where it's best served for British Barbershop.
Yeah. This was a completely unplanned segue, but it's a beautiful one. Speaking of things that members' money goes towards that directly benefits them, it's Directors Academy.
Wonderful.
So we are recording this on Thursday, the 16th of January, which means tomorrow or Saturday, folks will be travelling to, I was going to say down to Nottingham, possibly up to Nottingham, because we are inclusive to Southerners as well.
Cut that one out for you.
Sorry, edit. So people will be travelling to Nottingham over the next couple of days to participate in Directors Academy, which is an event that has been taking place in Babs in various formats for quite a long time, and we think that this is one of the most important ways of improving the music that everybody makes and making sure that our clubs, our choruses, are getting kind of value for money out of it. So every single Babs chorus gets to send one person to Directors Academy for free. Typically, it's their musical director, but if the MD can't make it, then somebody else gets to go. And then we also open up places to like section leaders or assistant MDs from Babs choruses, and also musical leaders from Labs and Sweet Adeline's Region 31 choruses. They're also welcome to attend. They pay a bit of money if they're not the sort of free place for the chorus, but we still subsidise the paid places. So I think the charge this year is like £130, which includes all the education and the accommodation and food. But that's, just Babs is still paying a little bit towards that, even for the people who are paying.
Yeah, and I think that's like, it goes back to that whole, why, and I think that's probably a question that we don't necessarily answer as much as we should. And, why is it a good use of the money? And for me, you've hit the nail on the head, obviously, musical development, not just for us, but with partner organisations as well. But also building, if your MD can't make it and you send someone else, not only are they going to come back and bring new things for your chorus, but that's a more sustainable kind of leadership pipeline. So if your organisation loses their MD for whatever reason, we all know life gets in the way, then you already have somebody who would be able to step up because they've kind of had a bit of experience in that and they know a little bit. And even if they don't step up, them being there, going back to that corporate term, will be value added for your chorus. They will know new things. I always think about going to the National Barbershop Youth Chorus when I first joined, and you'd go and you'd come back to your chorus and you'd have new things you could share. And Directors Academy, for me, it's exactly like that. It's not just investing in your MD, but it's investing in your entire chorus's future leadership. And I think that's where it becomes really valuable for Babs as well, because not only do we get improved music, but we also get improved resilience across the organisation, because we know that, choruses aren't going to have this big struggle if they lose their MD and have to find someone to come in. And we've all been in a chorus where, the MD hasn't been there, or could do with some extra guidance. And I think it's really valuable that people, send them through to Directors Academy. And certainly I know we're all very happy to subsidise it because it makes us all better by individuals getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we know how much difference an MD can make to the success of a choir or a chorus. Like they are the person, they are the face of your organisation for your members, right? Your members come largely because of who the MD is and what their skills are and what their experience is and how they deliver rehearsals and the overall experience is created by the MD largely. So for Babs, they are incredibly important people, and I think this event is kind of one way of Babs like kind of showing our appreciation for the MDs as well and giving something back to them. I used to be an MD for a Babs chorus for a little while, and I'm currently an MD for a Labs chorus, and have attended Directors Academies in the past. And the education is always great. We've had great international educators before. I remember Jordan Travis coming one year, Donnie and Amy Rose coming one year, and all that the musical education stuff is amazing. I think maybe what folks who haven't been to one of these events don't realise is that the networking and almost like the group therapy aspect of Directors Academy is like so important, because I don't know how many people have heard MDs say this, but being an MD is quite a lonely position sometimes. And lots of MDs have lots of support from music teams and all the rest of it, but like ultimately being the person in charge and the person in charge of making decisions and leading the team, it can feel quite lonely, particularly when you have to be the face of positivity and encouragement in the chorus, and internally you might have struggles and frustrations and doubts, like self-doubts, and I certainly experienced that, and continue to experience that as an MD. Like, am I good at this? Do people like me? Am I like and going to Directors Academy is just a great. It's like the only place actually where I felt like I could talk about those things with people who like understand, and it was a safe environment, and I knew that the people in the room were like on my side and wouldn't like go, and say, oh gosh, it's. I think it's such an important space to provide for MDs, to give them that kind of mutual, kind of like I say, almost group therapy and networking.
No, definitely. Yeah, and I think it's like you say, I think any leadership position can be a little bit lonely, or just even just you don't receive any feedback most of the time, and if you do receive feedback, I find probably MDs probably empathise with it, but a lot of your feedback's you did that wrong. Yeah. And like sometimes, you want to have a chat.
Could you just? I wasn't quite clear on when to come in at that moment.
I see Peter's still upset after Tuesday's rehearsal. But the no, I think it is, and it's really important to have those conversations. And I mean, on a smaller scale, I did Harmony College. I think it was the year when Foreign Demand had gone. All this one around midnight, where it was great. And I did the director's stream during that with John Grant and Neil Firth, and obviously both exceptional directors. And it was so interesting, not only to understand about the challenges of, as they described it, waving your hands, but also to understand the challenges of having to build a culture as an MD, and also as a committee, and as a chair, and all these sorts of things, and understanding that you really are the leader. And like you say, having a bunch of like-minded people who are all from probably different, ABC choruses, whatever you want to call them, contest-focused or show-focused, they will all be from different backgrounds. So to be able to probably hear your same concerns echoed across the board, I can imagine is pretty comforting when you've been on your own for about 6 months.
It's nice. It is really nice.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the people who are listening will not be MDs, just purely based on demographics. If you're not an MD, I have two things to ask of you. Thing one, if your chorus didn't send anyone to Directors Academy this year, make it happen next year, because
make it you.
Make it, or come yourself. Just, ask your committee, can I go to Barber's Directors Academy? We would love to have somebody from every single chorus at this event. We've got a pretty good representation this year, actually. But the more the merrier, as always. And I think thing number two is, say thanks to your MD. Give him some. I know. Give them some encouragement. Say thank you for everything they do, because they do a lot.
And I got one thing, which is disregard Peter's last comment, and continue to be heavily critical. No, he is right.
Very good.
I've since joining the board, I've had a lot more appreciation, not only for what MDs do, but also just for what committees do in general, because the amount of administration that goes on behind the scenes, whether it's preparing plans and stuff for rehearsals because you're the MD and you've got this in your mind, or whether it's prepping or corralling 4,000 people to attend one event, there's so much that goes on. So but no,
organizations that are well run are kind of like swans on a lake. Like it looks really majestic, from the surface. But as soon as you look underwater, you just see the frantic flapping of feet. Are they feet? Do geese have feet? Geese have feet. Flippers? No. Do they have flippers? Penguins have flippers. Geese have feet. Geese have webbed feet.
Welcome to
this is why we're doing a podcast about Barbershop and
because we don't have any other specialist areas.
Yeah, I am the next David Attenborough. Very good. So, Directors Academy, we're excited to see how it goes.
Yes, and I'll be there. So if you're there, say hello. I'll be working on consultation-based things. So any form of alcoholic beverage is greatly appreciated.
I regrettably will not be there.
So you didn't want to buy me a drink?
Yeah,
it's fine.
Excellent. All right. What else have we got?
Do you want to talk a bit about Year in Harmony?
Yeah. Thank you. It's Year of Harmony, Calvin.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. Well, in that case, would you like to talk a little bit about the Year of Harmony?
Yes, please, Calvin. That would be great. And thank you for asking. So, yes, if you hadn't heard, 2025 is the Babs Year of Harmony. I very nearly said Year in Harmony there, Calvin.
I would have enjoyed it.
This 2025 is the Babs Year of Harmony, and this is a kind of national year-long campaign with the aim of it's essentially an outreach campaign, right? With the aim of getting Barbershop in front of people who might not have heard it before, or who might have a different idea of what it is to what we have in Babs. And specifically, it's about getting Barbershop in front of other musical people. So that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people across the country who participate in some form of leisure time music making, right? So whether they're in a choir or a band, or they play an instrument for their own pleasure or whatever, there are thousands and thousands of people that do music in their leisure time in some capacity. And barbershoppers are a very, very small proportion of it. But it's my belief that we can generally we can always do a better job of participating in that ecosystem of leisure time musicians, right? I think barbershoppers can often be very self-referential, and we know that we appreciate each other. So when we organize shows or when we do events or whatever, we're often singing to other barbershoppers or with other barbershoppers. Yes. If we organize if we're a chorus and we organize a concert, we invite a barbershop quartet, like the current champion quartet, to do the show. Good. And all that is great. It generates money for our clubs. It's good fun for members. We all love singing in front of audiences. That's all great fun, but it doesn't get barbershop singing in front of new people. It doesn't expose it to new audiences who might actually be interested in participating.
It's a risk of an echo chamber, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So this is about looking outside of our barbershop bubble a little bit. And the way that we're encouraging people to do that is, the example I used was shows, organizing shows and inviting a community choir or a brass band or something to do your show with you. And make it not a barbershop group. Like it could just be as simple as that. If you wanted to add an extra layer onto an event like that, you could actually see if you could do like a joint song with them. So if they're a choir, you could learn one of their songs, or they could learn one of your songs, or you could learn a new song together, and that gives you a mechanism then to bring them to one of your rehearsals and give them a bit of a workshop, and you can go and visit their rehearsal and they can give you a bit of a workshop, and you can kind of introduce each other to what you do and how you do it, and you can learn a bit about the differences between the different approaches between your groups. Yep. and that sort of thing. It could be a really, really fun way of working and learning from and teaching another group, and then you get a concert out of it. And the people who come as the audience to that concert, you'll hopefully have some people in the audience who are, in theory, there to see the group that you invited, but they also get to see you, and they might not have seen you had you not invited the other group to participate in the concert. So all that stuff is great. We also would love people to do workshops and things like that. So an example of this is last week, my quartet, Limelight, were very, very fortunate. We got invited to go and attend the kind of preterm meetup for an organisation called Rock Choir. So Rock Choir is it's similar to Babs, but it's slightly different. They're a national, or they call themselves like a national choir, or that sort of thing. They have, according to the website, 30,000 members. Right. Wow. By comparison, Babs has how many? 1,700?
Top of my head, yeah.
So it's like 15 or 16 times the size of Babs, right? Is Rock Choir. And the way that they do that is that they actually pay the rock choir leaders, and there's 100 or so of them, to go out and run choirs as their full-time job. And two of the members of Limelight do that. Danny and Luke are rock choir leaders in their respective geographical areas. That's how we got the opportunity. And 3 times a year, all the rock choir leaders from across the country meet up and learn the songs for that term and have some education and all that stuff. And part of that education was Limelight ran an hour and 15-minute workshop and introduced them to Barbershop. Wonderful. So this is an audience of musical people who have kind of influence over other singers. They might go back to their choirs and say, hey, I did this Barbershop workshop thing. They taught us a tag. Can we try it? And they might try Barbershop. So that's an example of the sort of thing we'd love for people to do. And I think this is not a recruitment campaign. This is an outreach campaign. Like I'm not expecting or hoping that any rock choir members will turn up at local barbershop choruses. If they do, fantastic, but that's not the aim. Like, my motto for this campaign is every time somebody sings a barbershop seventh, that's a success.
Yeah, I agree.
So I talked for a long time there about the Year of Harmony. I'm very excited about it.
It is. It's very exciting. I think as well, it's important to know here that like you started this work after your market research about a year and you were a bit ago, didn't you? And you'll be able to summarize it better than I will. But for all intents and purposes, we found a lot of our assumptions about why people come in to Barbershop or why people stay were wrong. It's not necessarily people who don't know anything about music. I think it was, 5-6 years ago, Deke Sharon said that we were the martial arts of a cappella or something.
Yeah.
We'll hang on to that for a while. But like, I think that is really key because it's about exposing ourselves to people who are already musical.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we have to stop talking to people who aren't. You know, nobody's saying kick them out. Like, you know, we only want people with 7 PhDs in music. But yeah, I think that market research really, really shows the kind of backing for this and the data that goes into it. And I think you just hit the nail on the head with, you know, anytime anybody sings since the 7th, because all it takes is one tag. We've all seen it. You get someone to sing one tag and they go, oh, well, I guess I could be free on a Tuesday, I suppose. And the next thing you know, they're attending labs and they're attending, you know, they're fully in the system and they love it. And I mean, that rock choir is brilliant. And I think that's where Babs can start to influence finding opportunities like this. I know Limelight, obviously, where you did that, not us. I don't want to take responsibility. But like, this is where the opportunities we can find to get that kind of outreach. And I suppose I'd say, am I right if I say that you were inspired by a show you attended to start?
This was Hallmark's it would have been Hallmark's 45th anniversary show, right? Hallmark of Harmony put on a show for their 45th anniversary. This must have been in 2023, and they basically invited it was 5 choirs I think they had on this show. Wow. 2 barbershop choirs, 2 kind of local chamber choir type things, and then the 5th one was a local choir for refugees. So it was like an audition. Like, it was absolutely amazing. And they did, I think, at least 1, maybe even 2 joint songs, and it was absolutely great. And I was like. Like all the people in the choirs, and the format that they did it in was really interesting because they did it in the Octagon Theatre in Sheffield, which if you've been to the Octagon, obviously it's an octagon shape, and at the back of the room they have like tiered seating in half of the octagon, which is usually where the audience sit. But for this show, the audience sat in the middle and faced the tiered seating, and all the choirs sat in the tiered seating. So and instead of one choir coming on doing a 6-song set, going off, next choir comes on, they each just like stood up, did a song, sat down. Another choir stood up, did a song, sat down. So they were all like present to watch each other's performances, and like seeing the look on everyone's on the other singers' faces when another group was singing. They were like, "Oh my god, this is great!" And then Hallmark, when they heard the chamber choir, they were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And then everyone, when the refugees sang, they were like, "Oh my god, this is so inspiring and amazing!" And just seeing how other singers reacted to watching something that they hadn't seen before was just like that lit a spark for me, I think.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, it's at its core, isn't it? That whether you're a chamber choir or a barbershop chorus or a rock choir, you just love singing. Like, you love how it feels, you love doing it with the people, like, you just love it. And the more people we can expose to our particular ever so slightly niche form of singing, the better. Wonderful.
Because I think a lot of the work we try to do as barbershoppers is which we are trying really hard to convince people that they should sing, right? But also as barbershoppers, we are trying to convince people that they should sing barbershop, which is another step. Like, okay, I agree, I should sing, but this barbershop thing looks kind of hard and it's a big commitment, especially if you're a competitive chorus. I'm just going to go join the community choir. But if you are already bought into the idea of I should sing, and you already sing in a community choir, or you're already a musician, like you already philosophically like are down with leisure time music, then it's actually a much smaller step to say, and if you're looking for something new to try, maybe a new musical challenge, if you're looking to do some competitive stuff, something that's more education focused, whatever, have you considered doing Barbershop? And people might say, oh, do you know what? I'm going to consider doing Barbershop because, I've been doing this thing for a while and it might be interesting to try something new. So look, we're trying it. We'll see how it works. There's support available for anyone who wants to put on one of these events. So if you're running a workshop, if you're running a joint concert with another local musical organisation, anything like that, please email yearofharmony@singbarbershop.com, or just email me directly, peter.bryant@singbarbershop.com. We've got some lovely flyers that we've produced, which we want to send to you, that are kind of Babs branded flyers. Nice. So, introducing people to the idea of Babs and saying, this is a Year of Harmony event, blah, blah, blah. But we've got grants available for this kind of thing as well. If you want some help funding these events, I can help you with organization, with marketing, with whatever. Like, I want to make this a success for everyone. I want everyone to be able to participate in one way or another. So please do get in touch.
Yeah,
the Rock Choir workshop was amazing, and it kind of proved to me that I think this idea has legs, and I want.
Yeah, I think I can actually
try it.
You sang "You Are the One," didn't you, as a tag? I think I could hear it from York. So
it was outstanding.
It was pretty. I listened to the video and I was like, oh goodness, hello.
And if you watch that, so if you've not seen this video, go on the Babs Facebook page or the Babs Instagram. There's a video of the Rock Choir leaders all singing a Barbershop tag for the first time, and just like the looks on their faces is just they loved it. It was so good, and these are like proper professional musicians who literally full time lead choirs every week, and they were just like ecstatic at the idea of Barbershop. They thought it sounded so cool.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Like that's all we want. And if they don't become a member in the next 2 months, I personally don't care. As long as they have thought I love Barbershop, they'll probably become a member in the future. Like, it's not about those immediate returns. And I think you just kind of to double up. I know we got one more, haven't we? But what you said about removing an additional step by going to people who perhaps have more buy-in into the musical aspect already, I think that's really key, because at the last AGM, I was asked about recruitment, and I said I think exactly what I said was, I don't have a pitchfork and I can't force people into your choruses. And I stand by that. But what I can do, you can't force somebody who's, I don't know, big macho stereotype man who attends every single football match, doesn't care about singing because it's not cool. Like, you can't force them in, no. But what you can do is show people who will probably be interested in it something else. And I think that's where, it's what you're talking about, isn't it? Showing them that we are an option and making sure that people know that we're here. Come and join us.
That was going back to the research survey that we did last year, and we'll wrap up on this point. A lot of the assumptions that we had about barbershoppers was that, we should be advertising to just any men. Like, you don't have to be an experienced singer, you don't have to be musical. Come and do Barbershop, we'll teach you everything you need to know, etc., etc. What the survey found was that the majority of our current members actually had already done music in some form before they started doing Barbershop. So, the majority of our members were already musical people, and they found Barbershop having already been musical. And that was kind of the surprise moment for me, and I think the surprise statistic. A shocking percentage of those were actually said that they had done music semi or fully professionally at some point in their lives. Like,
although I guess
I can't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere between 10 and 15%.
They could. I could have put that. I could have told.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have been paid to sing before.
Yes, they didn't get a receipt. That's their own fault. But so no, I think it's true. Like, and it's really nice that we've started to do work on, very much data backed and evidence backed things, which is really good, because it just means you're going perhaps in a better or at least a different direction to see what happens. And we got one more bit, is it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's. We're just before we finish. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still with us, we just have a couple of little kind of I guess they're shameless plugs, aren't they? Because we have a platform now in this podcast, and we'd be upset with ourselves if we didn't use it.
Speak for yourself. They're very shameful in my case.
Yeah, and we won't labour this point because we actually released a video about this yesterday.
Yes, I saw that. It seemed to have been received quite well from
yeah,
what
I think
could
so.
see.
So our wonderful chair Shanna released a video yesterday. Basically, all the stuff that we're talking about, the recruitment, the Directors Academy, the conventions, all that stuff, needs like bodies, needs people to run them. We repeat this idea constantly that we are a volunteer organisation. I don't think people quite understand that we are. Well, I think lots of people do understand. That was not a fair thing to say, but there are still people out there who think that Babs has employees, and it's just not the case. And I think particularly now, when I joined the organisation in 2007. I think it's fair to say that the majority, if not the totality, of the board was made up of retired people who basically treated Babs as their full-time job. They would sit and do Babs 8 hours a day during the week. Since I have joined the board, that and before that as well, that has become less and less true, to the point now where I think I'm right in saying only one member of the board,
just one,
is retired, and everybody else. How many people are on the board? 7-ish, something like that.
We've changed.
Yeah. 7-ish people on the board. Only one of those people is retired. Everybody else is working full time and running Babs in their spare time. And basically, what this means is that we've spent a very long time spreading ourselves too thin. And for a very long time, we have not had a events director.
Yes.
And for a slightly shorter amount of time, we've not had a vice chair. And we've been talking a lot, and we've made a bunch of announcements about we need an events director. We really need an events director.
We do. If that wasn't clear, we could do with an events director.
And we recognise that the events director is probably the biggest role on the board. Like it requires the most time. So we have actually looked at the role and looked at how we can break it down. And if you go to singbarbershop.com/volunteer, you'll see that we've created a list of all the sort of sub jobs that the previous events director actually did. And we are actually recruiting individual people to do those smaller roles now.
Yeah, and I think the kind of key around that one is that it's about, we absolutely understand that people just don't have much time. One of the pieces of feedback we receive from choruses is that they even struggle to fill committee roles, which I do understand, having been in a number of choruses. So we've reduced it to as few hours as we possibly can, and we've made them very specific, to handling scheduling or these sorts of things. So please do have a look at the website. And I think I'd just very quickly say here, because you won't have to listen to me again, at least for a few months, I'm sure, that when I first, so I left Barbershop for 3-4 years, give or take. I did a master's and kind of worked and did stuff like that. And one of those things was I attended a Main Street Sound retreat where my mum was singing in Peter's chorus. And I said to Peter, I really miss Barbershop, but I don't really have time to sing at the moment. I said, but I want to give back to an organisation, because they did pay for me to go to Orlando and I definitely couldn't afford to pay that back. So I said, how can I help? And Peter suggested they needed a board secretary. Like, funnily enough, since taking the board secretary role, I'm now an assistant for a director. So, like, the experience I gained from just being passionate about, an area that I thought I could help in has helped me in my life. And I would say that if anyone's thinking, can I spare 2 hours? Please do. Because with your 2 hours, we can make a really big difference. And if everyone gave us 2 hours, goodness. I mean, can you imagine the size?
Your 2 hours is such 2 hours a week or even 2 hours, whatever. It's just such a weight off somebody else's shoulders, right? It's not even about necessarily the time commitment. It's just about somebody else not having to worry about that thing at all. So, it's a really, really great team to be a part of. Like, this is, I am very, very passionate about Babs, and I know lots of people out there are as well. I'm more passionate about Babs than I am about my actual job. Which is kind of,
as shown by our Slack messages at like 2 p.m. on a standard weekday.
Which I that's how it should be. I get paid by my actual job, which is why I stay there. But I think it's so meaningful to me to be able to give back to the barbershop community by doing this job on the team. And it gives me a lot of pleasure to be able to do that.
So it really is. It just makes you kind of feel good. And I'll finish with it with a bit of consultation feedback I can share with one piece, which links back to the earlier conversation. We did receive one that they're all anonymous, so I don't feel bad saying this. We received one that said, if you stopped paying the directors, you could use that money elsewhere. So I immediately emailed Ray and asked her if she had the wrong bank account details for me, potentially, because I haven't received any pay in a significant ever.
Yeah.
But no.
Just to reiterate the point, Barbers does not have a single paid employee. We get expenses, but that's it. None of us get paid to do this, which is not a complaint. I don't want to be paid to do this.
No. Just so people don't think we're sitting on the Seychelles. Oh dear, I started a tongue twister. But yeah, I don't think we're sat on a beach somewhere.
We're not doing this for the money. I don't think any musician of any kind or anyone adjacent or related to the musical industry has ever gotten into that for the money.
I mean, I went and saw Ryan Audi at the Royal Albert Hall. I'm still pretty sure he wasn't in it for the money. He just enjoys the piano. But no, thank you so much for having me on, Peter. And hopefully, we've covered a lot of things, and hopefully people have enjoyed it. And obviously, I'm sure you'll be looking for feedback on the structure and general content.
Yeah, definitely. So that is it. You'll be pleased to know. Thank you for sticking with us. That's it for this first episode of Tune In. Big thank you to Calvin.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's been good fun. I'm gonna do the content creator thing. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I've always wanted to say that. So you can subscribe in your podcast app. You can subscribe to the Babs YouTube channel and get podcasts that way. Or you can just go to singbarbershop.com/podcast and you can listen to all the episodes on that page. Next month, our guest host is going to be Jasper Stritt, who is the new Babs Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion and Belonging, which I'm very excited about. We can, it's going to be nice for him to introduce himself to the community and talk a little bit about what the work that he's going to do in that role. So if you want to ask him any questions, if you want to ask me any questions, if you want to call us out on anything that Calvin and I have said over the course of this episode, or if you want to ask us absolutely anything, please do send in your questions or your feedback. You can either go to singbarbershop.com/podcast, or you can email podcast@singbarbershop.com. That's podcast@singbarbershop.com with your questions and your feedback. Obviously, this is the first episode, so we didn't get loads of questions. But Calvin, I think it's probably worth closing on this very, very important question that was submitted by someone called Alistair. I could probably guess which Alistair it was, but I'm not. I'll protect his privacy.
Alistair, yeah.
It just says Alistair. The question is, which could you beat in a fight? 1 horse-sized duck or 10 duck-sized horses?
I mean, I guess I would, not knowing how big the horse is. The duck, it could be a Shetland pony kind of horse, but I feel like it's not. I feel like it's like a huge steed kind of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 10 duck-sized horses.
I think I'm in concord with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just I'm quite tall, and I don't know. I reckon. I probably shouldn't say this, but I reckon I could kick 10 duck-sized horses. But I'm
relying very much on the idea of the sweeping motion.
Yeah, I think 1 horse-sized duck. I think it's just. I don't think I'd win.
Imagine the size of the beak.
It would just be
a duck the size of.
I don't want to, Peter. I want to sleep later, so I'm not gonna. I refuse. I'm thinking about the duck horse-sized duck.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question, Alistair. I hope that proves to listeners that we will literally answer anything. So do send in your questions for next time. singbarbershop.com/podcast or podcast@singbarbershop.com. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much.
See you in February.